Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about Sentinel not going core. Now I want to talk about my thoughts about not including Sentinel in the core of the game a little bit later in the video, but right now I just want to talk about the immediate impact on the current league. So there's this neat little sentence down here where it says Recombinators won't drop anymore, but the existing ones will continue to work in standard. They even go on to write and will become progressively scarce as they're consumed. So what this means for people who don't know is they won't be dropping anymore after 3.18, but they still work basically. Very similar to Eternal Orbs back in the day. So if you know, for example, Beast Imprints, there used to be a currency that did that for everything, not just magic items. And this is that item in question, an Eternal Orb. You've probably never seen this before if you've not played for a long time. These cost multiple mirrors per, and the reason is there just aren't any dropping anymore and people are using them. So yeah, at some point there just won't be any. If you look at any on standard, there's some that have been put up like years ago, right? And they're still 100 Exalt or something. But the ones you want to buy right now cost multiple mirrors. So why am I saying this? Well, if we look at the graphs or Recombinators over the last few days, standard players have been buying them up like crazy. And that is because, once again, they know what happens with items that are very strong, have a lot of potential, but they don't drop anymore. They basically go extinct after time. You use them, but they don't drop anymore. But you might ask, what do I care about that? I'm not a standard player, right? Well, if you're still playing the league, this means that you should farm the ever-living hell out of these. And what you should do, most likely, the best way to farm these is my Sentinel and Go Glacier strat. So even before this change, Sentinel and Go Glacier strat was one of my best currency making strategies ever. It's basically out can go. You don't have to think about anything other than your Sentinel setup, and you can make upwards to 10 to 12 exalts. Now let's full screen this video real quick, and let's look at how many combinators we farmed here. Now this was roundabout after 40 hours, and we have farmed over 200 of each of these. Now, why is that interesting? Well, I know it seemed like it's like 27C per 35, but if you're actually going to trade and you try to get these, you will quickly notice that they go for like 2 to 1 exalt. And if you go to the chaos prices right here, you will see that there's still some for like 30, 40, but these are basically impossible to get, and we're realistically starting somewhere around here. So what will that mean for the Glacier farming strat, and does something change? Well, the exalt per hour will jump through the roof because these are dropping basically like candy. Now this also depends on what your Sentinels are, but basically that means that your ceiling goes from like 10 to 12 exalt up to like 20-ish exalt. At the time of this recording right here, I sold these for like 15 or 20 of these for an exalt, and now it's like 3 of them for an exalt. Now some small things that will change is, number one, you don't want to take this note down here anymore. Rewards are more likely to be less common. This used to be good because the best reward used to be Expedition. Now the best reward is Sentinel, and Sentinel is considered a common reward. And number two, the tier list changes because Sentinel is now not S tier anymore. It is considered, I don't know, S++ tier, or you can like rank it differently. But basically Sentinel is just better than everything else. If you have a lot of these just lying around, now is the time to use them. If you don't, you will drop them quite frequently. The thing is, chance for empowered enemies to have a Sentinel reward, big chance every single time to actually get one of these Recombinators. Number two thing that changes is this mod down here, chance to add rewards. This used to be not that great, but the thing is, you actually have quite a bit of scaling here on the Sentinel tree, which makes it so you have more chance to get Sentinel rewards, and that also counts for those random rewards. So that means that now, instead of this being a C tier, it is more like an S tier. Once again, whether you want to hoard some currency on standard, maybe you want to test out builds in the future, or you're still playing the game, but you're kind of frustrated that you can't upgrade to your next item because it's like 100 exalts or whatever, now is your chance to shine. If you have time to play, this is going to be the best part of the league for you. So take that opportunity and make some exalties. From experience, I can say that moments like these don't come that often. Usually this is announced way later in the league when it's already kind of over. It's like 1 week before the next league and you have like 3 days or whatever. So yeah, this is actually kind of rare that they come out with this news that early. So you still have like weeks to farm if you want to. And yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say. Now let's quickly go into what I actually think about Sentinel not becoming core. So here's the thing. I understand that Sentinel was kind of annoying. I understand that having 3 extra keybinds can be super annoying. Having these be 2x2 is annoying. I get it, but overall, I just absolutely love Sentinel. And I just can't help but be a little bit sad about this. I thought Sentinel would be a perfect replacement for Tormented Spirits. Tormented Spirits are very, very similar mechanic-wise, right? They basically enhance enemies and they grant more loot, but it's completely outdated, and apparently it's still going to be in the game. Maybe it's going to be reworked, sure, but I think Sentinel is just straight up a better Tormented Spirit. Before the league even started, I thought this would be actually their plan, right? Retire Torment and get Sentinel into the game. But with the annoyances, my question is just, why make this 2x2? Why does it have to be 2x2? Is that really a problem? Can't you just fix that with a little bit, like just rewriting it to, like, I don't know, make it 1x1? I don't see the problem. You could also just itemize it like you can also just make it like a shrine, for example, right? So you find a sentinel within a map and you press it and now you have a sentinel. I don't really see the problem. So I think there would have been implementations that would have made it possible to make this without having like keybinds or having these be annoying clutter in your inventory. And truth be told, this was actually one of my favorite league mechanics ever. After the trailer, I thought this would be so annoying. Having to press multiple keybinds, right? Having to actually sort these out, look at what they do. But once I found out what it was, I felt very similar to Expedition, where yes, you have to put in some time, but it felt like my time was worth it. It felt like if I understood Sentinels, I would get rewards, just like with logbooks, understanding the pathing, stuff like that. I really like that in league mechanics. I want them to either be really bland and just straightforward, or a little bit more complicated like this. I actually really enjoyed it. I understand that not everybody did. Overall, I will miss Sentinel quite a bit, but let's talk about a little bit more of the crafting implications of this. Because with Sentinel, the Recombinators, as we just said, will be retired. And beyond just you going out and finding them right now, just selling them to standard people or whatever, this is actually a pretty huge blow for crafting in general. And I don't love this change. I would have liked if they just nerfed it a little bit at the top end. I actually think this was a very cool tool to finish an item. And just a very cool tool to make like base items, even with the fractures and stuff. I think if they had removed fracture and they had removed the ability to maybe combine corrupted or mirrored items, or even make it so you can't make impossible items like triple temple gloves, they would have been fine and they would have fit into the main game. I think if you cut up the very tippity top of what these Recombinators are able to do. Now, the second worry I have is that Crystallized Omniscience will go back to being insane. Now, Crystallized Omniscience, we all know, is a really, really good item, but this league, it was a lot less played than last league, and that is not because of the price tag, believe it or not. Mostly, when it comes to endgame builds, it is because these damage per attributes existed. Now, these boot mods, which are Recombinators only, so they will be gone after this league, were basically like a question for you. Do you want to go Omniscience or do you actually want to go stat stacking? Before, the answer was very often, I want to go Omniscience, and now that answer is a lot closer. So if you go in-stacking, if you've gone in-stacking or if you've gone deck stacking this league, you know exactly what I mean. It doesn't feel like Omniscience is necessary anymore. It more feels like a choice. So my worry is that they actually won't balance Crystallized Omniscience, and we will be going back to 3.17, where basically if you're an elemental build and you're not using Omniscience, that's kind of stupid. And it's even worse now because back then, Omniscience was like 40-50 chaos, but now, being as strong as it is like 30 plus exalts, and we just have a whole new problem here. Because in 3.17, Crystallized Omniscience being that impressive was a problem because now every build looked the same, but it was very cheap, so everybody was like, okay, I'll take my free power. But what happens next league if everybody's going back to Crystallized Omniscience? It's not going to be 30. I mean, it was 40-50 at one point. It's not going to be that. If all the people who are deck stacking, in-stacking are now going back to Omniscience, we might be looking at maybe even 3 digits. I don't know what's going to happen. And then you have this weird scenario where if you don't have Omniscience, you do like half the damage. I think this is overall, I really hope they're going to rebalance this. Maybe they give stat stackers new tools. Maybe they make it so they are not Recombinator only mods anymore. Just make it a little bit more interesting for elemental builds. But I don't know what this means, right? So they're saying in their post here, the answer is no. For now, it's not going to go core. It will take some changes before it would be appropriate to become a core part of PoE. I don't really know if that's true. I think they could have at least left the Sentinels in, maybe bench like the Recombinators. But whatever they're saying, right? I don't know all the background of this decision when the Sentinel League ends in a few. Okay, that's basically all we know. Now, here's my problem with this. We know what happened with Ultimatum. Ultimatum came out in 3.14, and everybody basically loved Ultimatum collectively. And the thing is, it still hasn't been out. It's now 3.19. They're going to apparently release it in 3.19. That has been 5 leaks without it. That's just a real pity. You have absolute dog shit mechanics in the game, while these really revered league mechanics just aren't implemented. And I talk about this quite a bit in my stream usually over on twitch.tv/Palsteron. But basically, there's a lot of old league mechanics that really shouldn't be here anymore. When you could just put in fresh ones and cool ones. I don't understand the problem. Retire this. Rework or retire rogues, right? Harbingers are not that interesting. There's a lot of these that just aren't really made for anything. Beasts are just kind of they don't do that much. Ritual is just a bad ultimatum, in my opinion. I think it was a pretty bad idea to actually implement that instead of ultimatum. There's a lot of these going around here. Now, I really like stuff like Breach or Legion, even they're old. I love stuff that makes it so you can actually, you don't have to map, right? So you can get out of it, like Heist, for example. I think that's really cool. I think Delve is cool. But all these old league mechanics that don't really add anything, how about shake it up a little bit, take like 5 of these out and put some of the new ones in? I really hope that's what they're trying to do, not just rework them, because then there will be just too much content in the game. I'm honestly just kind of baffled. I think they're scared of Sentinel because Sentinel is extremely strong, and maybe they just don't have the time to test right now. But overall, I think this is a very harsh decision, seeing what's in the game right now. The fact that Sentinel, which I think is one of the best league mechanics that they made so far, is not in the game, it's just, in my opinion, a little bit questionable. But as I said, I don't know all the variables behind it. I will definitely miss it. I hope it will come back eventually. But yeah, that's basically my opinion about it, and see ya.